Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together. That is the message in the song. Come, you are here in Grenada or in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Come, you're in the diaspora. Come, let us build our country. Let us build our nation. That is very important. I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. Once you do that, you give your friends on your page the opportunity to view, to listen, to follow the program. I want to say that we have plenty FM stations in Grenada. There is a proliferation of FM stations in Grenada and Carriacou. And people have that freedom to listen to anyone that they please with or happy with. Once you okay with a station, you can listen to it. You have the freedom to do so. There is also plenty talk show programs, radio talk show programs. And people get the opportunity to call in and to vent, to speak. We have some talk show hosts and hostesses who could really manage programs and who are knowledgeable on many different subject matters. So a person will not just call into a program and say anything slanderous or misleading. They will be corrected. But there are some programs that you can actually just pick up the phone and say anything and get away with it. For example, the Plead Your Cause program on WeFM. So this morning, the usual suspect, Anne-Marie Eben, she calls the NNP programs the opposition-leaning programs. She would call the Sheldon Scott program. She would call the program with Devon Romaine and Carl Keaton. She will call the To The Point program. She will call the Plead Your Cause program. And she would vent, say all kinds of stuff. But this morning, she called the Plead Your Cause program, like nearly every morning. And she made some statements regarding nurses and making them permanent. And I laugh because the host couldn't tell this woman that a number of nurses have already been regularized or made permanent. A number of teachers have already been regularized and made permanent. In fact, on Labor Day, we heard the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers making it clear that 100 and something teachers have already been made permanent. And a number of nurses have already been made permanent, and the public officers. In fact, from October of last year to December, almost 300. I think they shy of what, two, because they said they would regularize 300 public officers from October to December. They regularized 298. I think two had some problems, right, to make them permanent. And then they are in the second phase of the regularization. And then they move to the third phase. Remember, the NDC has 5 years to govern. 5 years, not 1 year, not 2. And during campaigning, one can make statements. But when you come into government, you may discover differently. And that's normal. But the mere fact that the NDC is not reneging on its promise to regularize public officers, it augurs well for the public service, and it augurs well for public servants. Because remember, under the NNP, it was just contract work or you acting and it not being made permanent. And the NNP was there for 20-something years. They were bringing in workers on contract. The NDC is trying its best to regularize workers, to bring them in the right way. So yes, there will still be people given contract, because there are some things that would always be contractual. Not only that, they cannot bring in workers now and just make them permanent, because there is a need for pension reform. That is why they're dealing with the 2,000 and something workers who are in the system and are on contract or not permanent. So they're trying to regularize these people to make them permanent, to make sure that they fall in the current system, right? But there are those who are not permanent totally, but they're in the system. The pension arrangement and gratuity as it stands now cannot sustain these people. So they have to reform the system. So there will be pension reform taking place. So the first phase, these people, they are already permanent, but they're not appointed. So they might be acting in some cases. So they made them permanent in that position that they're in. So they come in the system and they are permanent, but once you get a new position, you're acting until you're appointed in the position. So these people, they made them permanent in that position. So their salary, the scale and everything like that, the grade that they're working in, they're permanent in that position. So if they're moving them from that position, they have to move them into a same category or scale or grade, not under, right? And then you have priority given to teachers, priority given to nurses, priority given to those two categories of workers, making them permanent. So even if they're on contract and so on, they're making them permanent retroactively. So they may have been in the work 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It will still reflect. It will reflect as though they started the work 5 years ago, although they are now getting permanent. So they would not lose no years of service. They will not lose years of service. So that is so important. again saying the NDC is trying its best to regularize as many workers as possible. And they outline how they will do it in 3 phases. The NNP was there. Why didn't you regularize workers? The NNP should be the last to come out and condemn the NDC's approach to regularization, because the NNP never regularized the workers. They placed them on contract, or they were in acting positions, or they were temporary. So it was properly explained the way in which they will go along regularizing workers, right? It's nothing new. But because there are some people with certain motives and they believe they're bright, they believe they're smart, they could call a program, they're free to do that and run them out, right? But I am saying any reasonable person, anybody with sense, the young people, they would say, but wait, all right, the NNP was in power. And the NNP had a good opportunity to make the temporary workers permanent. They did not, because the NNP wanted a public service in a public service. So when the Public Workers Union called a demonstration or a strike, those on contract must go to work, or else they will be fired. They will be fearful that they could get fired. What the NDC is doing now is saying, look, we are going to get this thing right. We are going to regularize the workers, make them permanent so that they have a security of tenure. They have started the process. Almost 300 workers already got regularized. And I don't know what is the number from January. So you have January, right? January, February, March, April, May, June. I think this period, I don't know how many workers have already gotten regularized. And maybe that is something that the government information service could put out there, right? Could put out there to make the public know what's going down in terms of the regularization and how much workers have been regularized. So maybe that's something that they can throw out there, and they can help the public in understanding how many workers got regularized to date. Because you see, there are programs in Grenada that you can just call and misinform the public and say anything. It could be false. The host cannot even correct them. And it's sad, really, really sad.
The Ministry of National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management held a press briefing on Wednesday to update the public on the regularization of workers with the announcement of the official launch of the regularization exercise scheduled to commence from October 1st. Permanent Secretary in the Department of Public Administration, Lindonna Hille Marshall, says the process of regularization has already started, with several individuals already confirmed in their positions. The first phase is expected to be completed during the last quarter of 2023.
So the decision was taken for us to approach the regularization on 3 phases. The first phase, we would look at persons in acting, temporary, on assignment, and probationary status on the establishment. And as we mentioned, that process has already started, and we are optimistic by the end of December 2023, we should complete the first phase of the regularization exercise.
The second and third phases, which include the regularization of workers on contractual arrangements and Imani trainees, is expected to be completed over the next 2 years.
The second phase, which would look at persons holding PSC contract, contract of service, daily paid, and persons holding ministry letters. That phase we trust we would be able to advance through in 2024. And then we're going to be in a position to start looking at the third phase, which would look at people who are holding contracts for service, as well as the Imani trainees.
PS Marshall says a functional review will also be conducted over the next 8 months to determine the optimal size of the public service.
The functional review exercise will be conducted through the combined efforts of specially constituted teams, as I mentioned, and we are scheduled to commence officially on the 2nd of October, and we anticipate the exercise will run for approximately 8 months. The aim of the functional review is to determine the optimal size of the public service needed to meet the ministries and departments' mandates and the priorities for maximizing efficiency in the public service.
An oversight committee was appointed which include representatives from the Ministry of Labor, Finance and Legal Affairs.
You know, there is a roadmap set out. There is a clear path for regularization. And PS Marshall explained there, it will be in phases, right? So why then would, people with their political agenda and their bitterness, because a lot of these people, they are bitter. They never thought that the NDC was going to win the election, and they're existing here, they're in Grenada, and they want bad things to happen to Grenada and the government. It's not happening. So I'm saying the regularization is ongoing, right? The government cannot just regularize everybody like that. It just can't happen that way, or else it will crash the system. There are people in the system who cannot go on the regular pension scheme, right? So they have to reform the system to have them be made permanent. So you make them permanent with a different arrangement where you have a contributory pension scheme where they pay into the pension scheme. So government gives them a certain portion and they pay into the pension scheme. So when they retire, they would get a certain amount of money. That's the new people. But those who have been in the service for many, many years, they will not be a part of that. You see? But Anne-Marie Aban, she is a very nasty person, in my belief, when it comes to the information that she goes on radio, on different talk show programs and put out there. Don't believe she loves the nurses and so on. No, she doesn't. So she will not say that this government recently hired 26 or so nurses, right? She will not say that. But you don't expect the government to hire these nurses and make them permanent instantly. There's a regularization process taking place. And the workers who are coming in, there will be a pension reform process so that when they regularize them, they'll be under a different pension arrangement. Because if they fall under the current pension arrangement, then the people who are getting their pension will have problems in getting it because it's not sustainable. The government can't afford to foot that bill, right, in terms of pension and gratuity for everybody in the public service and those who are coming in. It's not sustainable. That is why there's a need for pension reform. And both parties acknowledge that there is a need for pension reform, but it's just how to do it in going forward, right? Also, this same government, the NDC administration, gave nurses an additional $500, an additional $500 every month on their salary. The NNP went overseas and called the nurses and doctors thieves. They accused them of thieving chicken and other things in the hospital. The NDC did not do that. The NDC gave them $500 more. The doctors are getting $1,000 more, $1,000 more. You see the point? But she will not call that program and say that, right? She will not. No. She's not interested in that, period. She's all about attacking the government and talking all kind of rubbish. And she believes that she's smart, she's bitter, she's angry. It's just sad, but the reality is they're on a program. They call programs and they say all manner of things. And they get away with it because the host is not knowledgeable. So they can say anything and everything. You see? Also, there are fringe benefits that the nurses are getting and the doctors and so on. There are fringe benefits that they're getting. Uniform allowance and more money here and more money there. They're getting all those things. But they would not see those things. No, 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 no. They will not. But I am saying the facts are there. This government cares more about nurses and doctors than the previous administration. But you see, the opposition forces, they are angry because they're not seeing a protest. They're not seeing demonstration. They're not seeing those things happening. And they're bitter. They're angry. They're very angry. They expected protests, but if the workers are happy, if the nurses are happy, if the doctors are happy, if the public officers generally are happy, teachers are happy, and so on, why should they go on the streets and protest? Why? You see? And that is the problem. They're not getting what they want. Protests, chaos, instability, problems, and so on. They're not getting that. They're not. So I am saying, yes, there's a proliferation of radio stations, FM stations, and so on, and people are free to pick up the phone and call and say all manner of things. But I think the hosts and hostesses, they need to be more knowledgeable. Before you go in a chair and start speaking in a mic, you need to be researched. You need to be smart enough to correct a person or to feed information to the public. So a person calls this program and say X and say Y, I can quickly correct them. I can correct them if they speak on regional things, international things, or domestic matters. The issues that we are faced with here, I can correct them forthwith. I will stop them in their tracks and I will correct them because I am knowledgeable on a wide range of things. That is what a host is supposed to do, right? Get the information, read, follow stuff, and you can easily correct the people. That is what's supposed to happen. But it's freedom. You can call, you can say X, you can say Y. Why you think those NNP supporters cannot call this program? They don't have the knowledge that is required to have a conversation. They just don't. Because the minute time they start speaking, I will correct them. Any one of them can call you. But when they call this program, they have to come with facts, with good information, with data, or else I will correct them. I will ask them certain questions. They will not be allowed to just call and mislead the public and say all kinds of stuff. No, that would not happen. It would never, ever be on this program. It would be somewhere else, not on this program. But if you check those other programs, nearly all those other programs, they are pro-NNP. Nearly all of them. They are pro-NNP. The callers who call in, they are NNP supporters. The hosts and the hostesses, they are NNP supporters. Generally speaking, They're in the NNP camp, the majority of them. So as a result, they just allow them to say what they want, when they want, how they want. They go on for a long time on different programs, just saying stuff, calling back over and over and over. There are some programs, some of these callers would call twice and three times over and over, talking the same nonsense on this program. You think you will call twice? You're joking. If I open up the line and I give you the opportunity to call in, you can only call in and speak once, not twice. No, nope. So I am saying again to you out there are certain programs that will make you dunce, that will make you worse than you are at this point. Because you cannot get anything of substance from those programs. All they know, they have somebody, speaking in a mic. They call them a host, and people are free to call and say anything. But we are in 2024. People can research stuff. In fact, this morning, when Anne-Marie Aban called the WFM Plead Your Cause program, a number of nurses sent me messages saying, but wait, they were able to get fringe benefits. They're getting the increase. Some nurses have already been regularized. The process is continuing. Things like that. They were able to feed me with that information instantly, immediately. You see? So sometimes those callers, they believe that they're smart and they know what they're saying. I'm saying to you, it is clear that Grenadians are getting it. They understand what is happening here. And that's important. Very important. But folks, I want to open up the line this morning to give you a chance to speak. You are free to talk. The number is 415-4817. 415-4817. You are free to vent. 415-4817. That's the number to call to get on the inside.
Now the election bacchanal die away. In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget spites and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show.
Right, so let's take the first call. Good morning, caller.
Hey, Ken Jones.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, brother. This morning I was really disappointed in Anne-Marie. Them people, by the stroke of pen, them people regulate almost 300 people. They have an next 4,000 to regularize.
No. In total, it's about 2,000 and something workers who have to be regularized.
All right.
Right, so hold on. So this morning you called the WFM program. I heard you. And I mean, you normally try to give information. You have to take your time and speak, right? Because you realize when you speak fast, people don't hear you very well. But you normally try. You try your best to lend clarity and information on certain subject matters. You call the program Up North with Carl Keaton and Devon Romaine sometimes. You call the Sheldon Scott program, all these different programs. I know you called because I follow nearly all the programs, which is great. But it's about 2,000 something workers who have to be regularized. They have started the process, and as that news piece explained there.
I really thought I had correct. Say for almost 4,100 because they say it's about half of the public service regularized already, and next half have to regularize.
Yeah,
no. She was saying.
It's 2,000 something. I think it's almost close to 3,000.
All right. Well, she said it was 8,000 public service. Yeah, half regularized and the next half have to be regularized. All right, forget that.
All right.
Okay, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you're live, go ahead, All right. Oh, you're gone. Yeah, so as far as I am concerned, or in terms of information, it's not 5,000 or 4,000. No, no, no. All right. But again, thank you very much, there, my brother. Thank you very much. No. Uh, I have another news piece that speaks to the amount, right? It speaks to the amount of workers who have to be regularized. Let's take that call. Uh, good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. Interestingly, last week, ever so often I would listen to some of the calling programs from Barbados. And last week I was listening to one, a gentleman called, and he announced that he's a whistleblower. Proceeded to give the name of the company he was calling about. The host stopped him. The host told him, if you're going to be a whistleblower, why are you disclosing all of that information? But he didn't stop there, He told him his producers will get his details, okay, his contact information. And he, the host, will in turn call him to listen to his story, to decide whether or not he should air the story. Okay?
Right.
People will call from time to time, say certain things, and the persons affected would call the stations and give them the facts and tell them you have a certain amount of time to dispute this or to say this isn't true. And so the host will come back, call for the person who would have made the false statements and say, look at the situation. The person that you said XYZ about has said this is not true. You need to correct it. And I couldn't help but think about you when you often say that these people just call and they just go crazy saying all sorts of things. I cannot understand why people think it's okay to do that kind of thing. So I don't know if it has something to do. I don't want to say education, but I don't know what it is that would make people feel comfortable to tell lies on somebody. And the thing about it, you've seen, you know for yourself it's not true. The people know what they're saying is false, but they're okay to do it. I can't say. I would love for some of my people to tune into Brass Tacks in Barbados to listen to the way the host operates that program and listen to the contribution. And the same way that you try to stop them, a matter of fact, not try, you normally stop them and correct them. That's the way they do the talk show program. And so it brings a measure of sadness to me as a Grenadian who loves this place dearly and I love my people. It brings a measure of sadness when I can hear other people, basically a stone throw away, could be carrying on conversations that's uplifting. And so, yes, they criticize, but they are reminded that they need to be truthful. And as I always say, if we live by the golden rule, a lot of what is happening now will not happen. We won't want anybody's connected to us in public life to be ridiculed and stuff like that. Criticize somebody, but constructively. And in your criticism, give them an opportunity to mend their ways. Tell them do X, Y, Z. But stop the line, man. It is just, well, the thing about it, I doesn't hear them things for myself. A lot of times I would hear what you say, or I might see comments and stuff on social media because I can't deal with that kind of nonsense. You understand? And I think I know we can do better. We can do better as people. Everybody, oh, Grenadians always nice, Grenadians so nice, Grenadians so nice. But check it who Grenadians nice too. As you normally say, you have to dance a yard before you dance abroad. So they need to do better than that, and they could do better than that. And them hosts and them need to really upgrade themselves. The host of this program should listen to them Bajans, because I guess they may not want to listen to you. Listen to the way them Bajans and them, and you see these people and them, I guess they don't want nobody to sue them. So they always err on the side of caution. Please, Grenadians, we can do better. Well, not me, not we, all you, because not all of us are doing this rubbish. Have yourself a lovely day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Jake Waller. Thank you very much. Indeed. Yes. You have to be responsible on air. So while you can just allow people to say anything, you need to have the facts. You need to have the facts. So I was looking for the amount because I remember in that piece, the PS did speak about how many public officers are to be regularized, right? In that particular piece, I was looking for it. I don't know if that is the piece. All right. No, I don't think so. All right. Oh, and where? Da, 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 da. No, I was trying to get the amount. The amount. All right. Anyways, just trying to get the amount of people as they get called. Good. Good morning. Good morning,
Yeah,
caller.
good morning to Mr. Kim. How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, in the NMP time, it have some victim what lost their house by fire 3, 4 years ago, and the NMP never give them the house like build a house. But this government come now, the housing there that is
No,
getting
no,
a
no. Hold
good
on. No, no,
proper.
no, no, no. Hold on. It is not true to say that the NNP during the NNP time that they did not rebuild some of the houses for
Yeah,
people who hold on. You hold on right there, right? This is not plead your cause. You're my good partner. I know you call nearly all the programs every morning. I'm saying to you, it's not true to say that during the NNP time, people who lost their house by fire, they did not rebuild some of those houses. Maybe they did not rebuild all, but some of those people, their houses were rebuilt.
yeah, okay. Well, about now one thing that who lost their house and thing that the fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Now they getting the proper house now. Yeah. So I appreciate and I'm happy for them.
Of course, I'm happy for them too. All right,
Yeah,
great,
yeah.
nice. I'm happy for them too, my brother. I'm really happy for them. The NDC is trying their best. They are citizens who are helping in many different ways to get them back to a state of normalcy. But it's not true to say that under NNP time, that was not the case, right? When your house is destroyed by fire, any government will try to help. Any MP will try to help to get you back to a state of normalcy. All right. There are some governments who are doing it quite quicker, and there are those who are not. So if you don't, talk radio here, you have to be. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, sweetheart.
Hey, how you doing?
You sketch like good goal around China can get to it and just gone. You go pass by me. You know, I want to find out if he's
Yeah, go ahead.
listen,
we listen to you.
some people work 18 years and contract then die. You think 2 years now the NDC in office they go to die and the contract? I'll wait no man. The thing go fix.
But mind you,
We
but you
really
know,
bias.
but my dear, mind you, the workers have patience, because
Hmm?
they are waiting. But you have surrogates of the NNP, you have mouthpiece of the NNP, and people who are
Hmm.
downright bad-minded who would call programs and try to instigate or try to mislead the public and try to create that kind of, belief that the government is not moving in the direction of regularizing the workers. They say they will regularize. So the workers
Mm-hmm.
themselves, they're okay.
And this is what they're doing now. They're doing like if NDC is the only party that promised something in the campaign, and it then do it in 2 years. But remember how much years the NNP promised us oil that ever happened?
Oil and
Sometimes we
gas.
don't see the biasness so plain, eh?
Yep.
Sometimes we just wonder what going on. Have a good morning.
All
Pass
right.
by me way, boy.
No problem. All right. Yeah, you're correct. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Hello. Good morning. You're live.
Good morning.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. I just wanted to, commend you on the way that, you always let people know the truth, whether it is NMP or NDC, whatever, whichever government do, you always correct people when they're going wrong. Because just this morning, actually, I came across a program with up north. Actually, it was held. Well, actually, they hosted it yesterday. Where the guy with the locks,
Yes.
he was saying, yes, he was saying, you could actually go it over yourself. He was
Yeah, I
saying,
listened.
yes,
I listened to it.
Yes, and he was basically, blaming this government for,
For the
crimes. He
crime,
was
yes,
also,
yes.
yeah, he
I
also
listened to
even
it.
said about, some schools are unproductive, and I think that, these statements are really wrong.
Yes.
You shouldn't do that, because not only are you coming down on the schools and the teachers and stuff like that, but you're also bringing across the wrong message to these kids, because
Yep.
then if that was me as a young person going to school, I would think, well, basically hearing that, why am I going to school then? You
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So
I
at the
listen.
end of
I
the
listen to the
day,
program. Normally, most of the talk show programs, I take time to listen to them to follow the trend and what is being discussed.
yes. So I think that, they should really try to, bring across a more positive message, whether you like this government or not. Just focus on bringing across the right message so that young people these days could feel a bit more positive, and stop telling people that, look, if they earn under $3,000 that they are poor. No, come on. I work in the prison for a few years, and I'm telling you, we were getting under 3,000, and I managed. You understand?
Of
I
course.
managed. I was able to even save something, give my grandfather something, do everything I can, and still help people. So at the end of it all, it's a matter of people budgeting. You understand, and managing their finances. Paying their bills and everything first, and doing what is important first before actually, going and spend on clothes and all the unnecessaries.
I
You
fully agree.
understand? So, come on, so whether you like this government or not, just focus on, being a bit more positive and encouraging people. That's my contribution. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well said. Yeah, I normally listen to those programs, right? I stay on top of my game. That is why when a person calls, I can, right? Hey, bro, you give me a little extra time there. All right. Yeah. One love. Yeah. Yeah. So, folks, again, the number is 415-4817. Giving you a chance to free up, giving you a chance to talk. The number is 415-4817. That's the number to call. All right. Let's take that call here. Good. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Cam Jones.
Good morning.
Your rendition as you start your program, Jesus, did you call my name? It's a wonderful rendition. I look forward every morning to listening to it. Jesus, did you call me? I would answer.
Right.
And at the end of your program, I find you stop playing thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.
Have a good day, Cam.
Nice. Yeah, that's the thank you, thank you, thank you. That's an old piece, right? I used to play that before. Sometimes we go beyond the time too. So I love that. That's a good one, they call her.
Peak. And once we cannot perform at our peak, then it affects the economic growth and certainly the growth of our nation in its entirety. So this is seen as a big issue. So what we decided, in order for us to tackle this exercise, we needed to have a sense of what the situation really looks like. So we've done a situation analysis, and we noticed current situation revealed to us that almost 300 officers were acting or on assignment in the public service. And we noticed that almost 2,000 workers were engaged with over 8 different modes of engagement in the public service. And we've mentioned prior what the other current issues were, particularly with the professional immobility and the inability to access finances to support personal development. But we didn't want to focus on what the current situation is, because it is what it is.
Let's take a call. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Let's take that call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Kim.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
All right, good, good. Listen, the Imani training program is both in the public and private sector, yeah?
Yes.
I mean, it's for a period of what? Is it 18 months
18.
or 2 years?
I think it's 18 months, either 18 months or 2 years, but wrong there.
Yeah, but I'm getting the impression that once you're in the public sector as an Imani, you're expected to remain there. Because after the training program in the private sector, if the private sector cannot keep you, is obviously they would tell you the program come to an end.
Yes.
So you will have to go home.
Yep.
And maybe find employment somewhere else or whatever. But to me, I find nobody's beating up on private sector who would have received the Imani trainees and had them for a period of time. But it's only government people who were in trainees in government.
Yeah, I get you, because in the private sector, once the 18 months, 2 years, and in fact, if you not performing, so there are situations where they perform well and they get permanent, they get to be a part of the normal staff or the full staff of that company. But
Right.
once they're not performing, once they're coming in late, once there are some Imani trainees who are disciplined, who really want to add something to the company, and they would go the extra mile, right? And they would be kept. But generally speaking, if you're late and you're not producing, then they let you go after the 18 months or the 2 years.
Yeah, and even if they're taking you as a trainee, not necessarily they want workers, they take you in just to be part of the program, it's obvious they would let you go.
Yeah, at the end of it all, yep.
The trainee.
I agree.
But people are looking at it that, you send home the Iman, you send home the Imanis. When we know it's a training program, we have to get that clear.
But you know what's amazing? This NDC administration, they have not sent home any Imani trainee to date. What they have done is actually increase the amount of money that they collect as a stipend on a monthly basis.
Exactly.
They increased it to $1,200. So
yeah, I mean, so I don't see why we should really be dragging this Imani thing. It's a training program. It's a training program.
Yeah.
If you're so lucky that you could get employment, but do you get a certificate? Can you? Because some people spend 5 and 6 and how much years in Imani training, and if you don't get, what's the weight of the Imani training? Is there a certificate that you could go and say, I have a certificate, I'm a trainee Imani or whatever?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Plenty love.
Yeah, good.
Great.
All right.
Let's take that next call. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Kim Jones, Sherry George. What do you do?
I do it. I did it.
Come on, you have to see ready. Now, Ken, there is a thing they call desperation. When you lose 2 elections back to back, easy for them. So we are expecting anything. You see, Kim, I've never been that happy in my 70th birthday, 78 years, like no. Kim, I sitting down and I don't want to hear a lot of negative things from a lot of people, especially the NDC. I find NDC people don't start stupid all over the place too much. I make up my mind. I'm listening to positive things. When I hear the negative things, I know how to answer. So right now, I ain't taking no stupidness from nobody. I'm doing what I have to do for my country. I'm saying what I have to say when the time is right, and when I'm ready, I'm hushing, which I just hardly ever do. So my thing, what I really checking on now is dress code. I find I do not like how some of these ladies and them dressing to go to work in the ministry. The skirts are too tight, going up, and every minute you see them pulling down and pulling down. Let us be classy. Let us take Grenada to the next level. Put on your nice little high heel shoes, their bags to match skirt and shoes and things, and so style up and walk in style, and let us look nice, and let us look like we go somewhere. This kind of tight thing I don't see the way in the dragging foot. Now, that can work for us. We need class because we have a class prime minister. Kim, thank you very much.
All right.
You know how to do this week. Bye-bye.
All right. Nice. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, so we're going for a little longer this morning, so you're free to call and talk. The number is 415-4817. So I played that piece there, and in that piece, we actually heard the amount of public servants to be regularized, right? I actually heard the amount to be regularized there, this piece.
And once we cannot perform at our peak, then it affects the economic growth and certainly the growth of our nation in its entirety. So this is seen as a big issue. So what we decided, in order for us to tackle this exercise, we needed to have a sense of what the situation really looks like. So we've done a situation analysis, and we noticed current situation revealed to us that almost 300 officers were acting or on assignment in the public service. And we noticed that almost 2,000 workers were engaged with over 8 different modes of engagement in the public service. And we've mentioned prior what the other current issues were, particularly with the professional immobility and the inability to access.
Right. So, sorry there, caller. You can call back. So you actually heard it's just about 2,300 people. Just about that, just a little above 3,000, 2,300 or so people. That is the amount. So it's not 5,000 or 4,000. No, it's not. All right. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. How are you, boy?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Not bad at all. I just called to say good morning to you. I haven't seen you out here for a while.
All right.
I just want to say morning to you. Good morning to you.
Plenty love.
Yeah, all right, sweetheart.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. So I love to provide the evidence, the facts. So for my good friend there, the caller, this is the PS speaking regarding the regularization process. She's responsible for that. I think she's PS in DPA, Department of Public Administration. I think so. So she explained the amount, and I know it's under 3,000. Definitely, it's under 3,000. All right. So they have started the process of regularizing those who are acting in acting position, and they have prioritized nurses and also teachers. And I heard Brother Jude speak there. He spoke at the rally about the amount who were regularized as teachers. Good morning, caller.
Hey, my bro. Morning, Wago.
A good man.
Yeah, if people observing and be honest with themselves, we didn't have to wait until 2 years before election, a year and a half before election, to take the work doing. Walk around the country in 2 years, less than 2 years or 2 years. Look how much road work that's been done thus far. Look how much back wall. Continuity to the max. I mean, there's no comparison whatsoever with NNP and NDC. NDC is far gone. NDC now waiting until 2 years before elections to start doing work. As the election call and we win, we start performing. I mean, when we look at the pension, the gratuity, the bi-monthly, I mean, the scholarships, the many advanced teachers have been making through regularization, the public sector also. I mean, you name it. 15, 20 years at NNP compared to just 2 years at NEC. There's no comparison. What NDC failed to do, what NNP failed to do in 15, 20 years, NDC is able to accomplish it within 2 years. People, check it. Tell the audience. Be honest and frank. Be real. This setup of young people is what we need for the next 15, 20, 25 years beyond. Grenada will be nice. Patience. Lot more coming. Positivity. And it's up and up we going. God bless these young people and we're moving onward forward with them. Come what may. Thank you, my brother. Thank you to the nation.
Thank you. Well said, they call. And that's a very salient point, It's a very, very important point. The NDC is governing differently from the NNP. The NNP historically would win the election. When they get into power, they would do a little in the first year, right? Or let's say the first 6 months, the first 9 months. Then they would grind you. And 1 year or 2 years before the next election, they would start doing things, fixing roads, fixing schools, employing more people, taking on more Imani trainees, and increasing the amount of money the poor relief assistance people normally get. And we can go on because it's all about winning an election, politicking to get back into power. But when it comes to the NDC, they are about governing from day one, delivering from day one, doing things to better the lives and living standards of our people. I think you're correct. You're correct. very much so. That's a very, very important point that caller made there. I want to also say it seems as though the NNP is on a crusade to have plenty talk show programs, podcasts, and so on, to put out a lot of misleading information, in my belief, out there to confuse the minds of our people. They did it in 2008 to 2013, and they were successful. They had plenty radio programs and so on, showing a lot of falsehoods out there. But this time around, they're not going to succeed because they are dealing with a different population. They're more youthful, they're more smart, they're more tech savvy. They can get information at the fingertip, on the phone, on the iPad, on the laptop, and so on the go. They can get information. It's no longer like before. You have to wait for the news and wait for this and wait for that. That's a thing of the past. But folks, the number is 415-4817, 415-4817. If you want to call, you can. The number is 415-4817, 415-4817. So the regularization process continues. But I think the government needs to do more in putting out certain critical information. There are certain things that are taking place in the country, things that they started, the NDC administration started. They need to give an update on it, right? Don't wait for too long. Give an update. You start this program, you start that program, tell us how it's going. So like the JUMP program, for example, where they're providing internet access to households without, about 1,500 households, right? Together with Flow. I am saying provide an update. How many households got internet service and that device and the training thus far? Just as you provided an update on the WASH program, you tell us how many people got indoor bathroom and toilet facility in the pilot community, Belial. Now you're moving into other communities. Give us the stats. That's important, right? You're renovating houses, you're building houses, you're doing a number of things. Update the public on it every now and then. Good morning. Good morning, Kola.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, I just thinking what we should do. Have a look of the 2018 and the 2013 NNP manifesto, and also look at the NDC last manifesto, and go line by line and tick off what has been done in the country. So then we could have an open debate
on promises, the promises they made and how much they fulfill. Because people kind of saying, well, NDC has to do everything in 2 years or everything in 3 years. But let's look at the NNP. That's a good point.
Yes. And let's go. And if you want to have an open debate on a neutral radio station, you don't have to be Vibes FM or the one up north. We be a neutral radio station, and let's have an open debate.
Right.
And pick off line by line.
Right. Okay.
And I think something we should press some for that, honestly.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so thanks.
I think that's a good point. Because, they always talk about, well, the NDC said that during the election campaign. Well, the NDC is still in power. The NDC is still in power. And we are not even 2 years as yet in power. And the NDC did a lot. But I think it's important to update the public on certain things. Because you have a number of programs happening. You have to update the population. You see, just as Andy Williams, the Honorable Andy Williams, he would provide updates on, let's say, the Moline land slippage project there, the bridge and what they're doing there. Just as GIS did an update for us on the Calivini main road project, that road that they're doing. You have the basketball courts and hard courts and so on, and netball courts that they're doing around the island. They're providing updates on that. You've seen it online. So it's important that you do something similar for other programs. So you provide an update so people will know. So the regularization taking place, provide an update. Tell us how many nurses got regularized, how many teachers got regularized, how many public officers got regularized generally. Tell us how many Imani trainees, for example, who got an increase in their stipend to $1,200, right? Tell us about the other workers within government because of the minimum wage, how they have been impacted, how many move from this stage to that stage. It is important to share that kind of information, all right? You have the hot meal program. Tell us how it's going. There are still some hiccups in some schools. We know, right? But tell us, because, for example, some schools called me and they say, hey, Kim, there's some problems here. And then in my mind, I said, in the schools, they need somebody to do the inventory, right? Inventory or a kind of stock taking person, how much you have today, how much you have, tomorrow, that kind of thing, and how much you would have at the end of the week, and what would be needed to replenish, right? To restock. I think that's important. You need to have somebody in the school responsible for that to upgrade, update what you have. Good morning, Kola.
Morning, Chairman. How are you, boy?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Well, I listen in your program, and thanks for the people that vote for NDC to win the election, that the NNP people know could call on radio and talk, because all of them was dummies. So thanks for the people that support the NDC and win that election, that the NNP supporters could talk now.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. So it's important because you may need somebody within the school to be able to say how much rice, how much flour, how much sugar, how much butter, how much saltfish, how much chicken wings, how much backaneck, how much turkey, how much fish, how much you have. And so if this is what you have by the end of the week, or maybe by Thursday, you can actually see how much is remaining. So by Friday, you can restock for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday again. You have to have it like a cycle. So you need somebody there, and somebody who can, a liaison person who can follow up with the ministry to make sure you get what you need. They may need something like that. They may need something like that. Because there are some schools that would run low on certain things, and then they would just turn around and tell the children there is no food today, or there is no this today and no that today. But the children came with the expectation that they would get a hot meal today, right? And some teachers and in some schools, they don't really care in terms of whether these children have or don't, but there are children who really need it. So again, they need to balance it off. And there are some NNP elements in a number of areas within schools, within government departments, and so on. And they want the government to look bad, so you know what they would do. So I'm saying you need to have somebody in all the schools, or maybe you could have a person for every district, right? That they call all the schools and get an update on the stock, what they have, what they utilize, how much pound of this remaining, how much pound of that, how much students they have to feed, and so you could gauge it. You could know what you need, what you need to get for the school. I think that is really, really required. So you need an update on some of those programs and projects and so on. NDC is coming up to 2 years in office, and they have done a lot, but it needs to be documented. So when you get an update on it, then it's really documenting what they have done. That's a smart way. So you go back to the pension, for example. How many people got pension in terms of numbers? How many police officers? How many nurses? How many teachers? How many agricultural workers? How many secretaries? How much? Give a breakdown. Get a breakdown of how many people got pension and how much they got. The gratuity. Let's talk about that too. How many of them got gratuity? How many police officers who were added to the list because they did not meet the required amount, but they were RC and then they became full-fledged police officers, right? Provide that. How many prison officers? You need to, because you see, data is important. Data, information. If you put it out there, how many people on the seed program? How many people 65 years and older collecting the $500, right? that kind of thing. How many people got scholarships? In what universities? How many people graduated after receiving the scholarships? How many people came back to Grenada and serving? You know, that kind of information. You need information. How many nurses you hired? For example, I only heard that from two senior nurses who told me, well, look, government hired 26 new nurses. Where's the news item regarding that? Right? GIS. What's about the person in charge of that? Why not do a news item to let people know? How many doctors were added from the time you came into office? How many new doctors you hired? That information is important. Very, very important. How many concrete roads were done in this constituency or that constituency? How many concrete drains were done? How many roads were fixed generally? How many bus sheds you erected? You need to provide that kind of information. How many community centers were refurbished or renovated by name? How many medical stations were refurbished by names? Right? How many playing fields were resurfaced and lit? How many basketball courts and tennis courts and netball courts were refurbished or lit? It's important. Very, very important. You did the cleaning of derelict vehicles and so on. In how many communities you did that? How many tons? How many, provide the information to the general public in a very clear way, because politics is also about information. Being able to provide that information to the general public. How many seminars, how many training were done with the public officers, right? A number of things happen for clinics and medical stations and so on. You restock. You did a number of things there. Talk to the public. Provide the information. I think that would be very, very important, right? If you need me to help you, I can help you. I can guide you to say these are the things you need to do, because NDC is coming up to 2 years in office, and it will be wonderful. It will be great to have all the medical stations that were refurbished or upgraded, all by name. It will be wonderful to have all the community centers that were upgraded and those that are being upgraded. It will be wonderful to have a list of all the bus sheds or bus stops that you erected, the new ones, those that you reconditioned or lit. It will be marvelous to have that. Good morning, Kola.
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
Are they?
Why, you know, to get something, but
I know it's a blessing.
yeah, well, we will link.
Yes, man.
What I call it to say, talk about now is that I work with school feeding program for over 2 decades, almost 3 decades. Okay?
Right.
And I know there are a teacher that would be assigned to the school feeding program. You understand? That would know what is happening in the kitchen. If not, sometimes the teacher is so busy, they might have a cook that is responsible, a responsible cook, that would follow up on whatever is happening. But they should have somebody, as you say, that take serious notes as to what happened in the kitchen. Because they doesn't really want to leave that into some of them cooks' hand, because some of them doesn't even know what happened. All they know is about cooking. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very good idea to have somebody, because sometimes it's the principal, but sometimes exam coming up and the person that is responsible.
You're correct.
As a teacher.
You're correct.
Yeah, so they have to have somebody that very stabilized in that kitchen.
Yeah, man. Plenty love.
Thing like that. Yeah. All right. So
all right, great. Yeah, so you see, for example, Karakou, having a list of all the things that were achieved in the last 2 years, not one, in the last 2 years in Karakou. All the things. They could be major, minor, they could be very small. All the things that were achieved on a list. That's important. PT Matnik, same thing. Same thing in all the constituencies. Listing the things that were done right, that were achieved in the last 2 years. And then from a government point of view, all the major things, and you put that together. So these are the major things that the NDC achieved. Pension was paid, the sum of $75.1 million to this amount of pensioners. And you break it down, nurses, police officers, prison officers, and you feed me with that information. You feed GIS with that information. You feed the PR people with that information. So when the NNP and all of them talking, I could easily pull up that soft copy and say, hey, the NDC paid pension. This is the amount they paid, and this is the amount of public servants who were paid their pension and their gratuity, not calling the names of the public servants. That's important, very important. Another big ticket item might be the bi-monthly salary payments, right? The impact, talking about that, right? Basic. Another big ticket item might be the minimum wage. The minimum wage is a big ticket item. How many people were impacted? How many people were brought from $700 to $1,200 or from $500 to this amount, right? Just as you would feed information about the Citizenship by Investment Program. They're doing a fantastic job where that is concerned. A great job. They will tell you how much people got citizenship, how much people applied for it, and how much is being processed, and how much people actually got it, and how much money we collected. And they can even give you a further breakdown as to what countries they're coming from, because they know. The CBI team, they're doing a fantastic job, a great job. But I suppose they're accustomed to data and data analysis and, putting it together and so on. They're doing a fantastic job. Just as the CBI is doing that, we can do that for the other areas too. The big ticket items, man. There's some great things that were achieved in this country. The regularization, let's talk about that. How many people got regularized? The numbers to date, you're coming up to 2 years. 2 years in office. You have to be able to provide that kind of information in simple ways. And that's politics, huh? That's politics. Besides just governance and country and so on, that's politics. That is politics. So if I have that information right here, I can provide that every now and then to refresh people's memory. Let's talk about the accomplishments of the NDC in the last 2 years. Let's document it. So you do a piece of road here, you do a piece of drain here, you do a railing here, you light this thing, you put a pole here, you do this. All these things, they might be small, but they're very important. The license, for example, the upgrading of the license, how many people were impacted by that? How many people? Let's talk about that. The jump program, how many people, how many households? The WASH program, the data, the information is crucial. And in all the different programs, there are a lot of programs, a lot of things happening here. Yeah, there are plenty of things happening. Government is doing a lot of work. Major projects in Seamoon and those places, in Sobeys and all the different places. St. Patrick, what is happening there too? Because you have to shine a light on what you're doing. Because the NNP will still say you're not doing this and you're not doing that and you're not doing this and you're not. But if you can provide that information to our Grenadian brothers and sisters here at home and abroad, they would have a clearer picture as to what are the things we were able to achieve in 2 years. There's some major things that were achieved in 2 years. To settle the whole issue with Grenlec, that's a major thing. We were down to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. We were able to settle that. We were able to settle the Kiwana Bay resort matter. That's a major one again. And people start forgetting these things. But if it's documented, then you can always refresh the memory of our people. The lands, getting back the lands for Kamahon Park, having it expanded, more lands there, and calling it Heroes Park. So there's a number of things. The new schools that are being built, those that were refurbished. You know, I am not working in GIS. I am not working with government. But I can tell you, if I'm given the opportunity to document what the NDC achieved in 2 years, right? Within a month, I can do that. With a good team, I can document what the NDC did. Video, audio, and actual written, right? So soft copy, written, documenting it in every constituency. You look at the major big ticket items, what the government was able to achieve, and then you go into the different programs, right? Once you can get the information from the relevant sources, because it is important to keep reminding people of what the NDC was able to achieve, because that was a serious problem that the NDC had during 2008, 2013. They were doing things and people didn't know. So every year the anniversary would come, they would have these celebrations and so on. But when it comes to documenting and telling people about what they were able to achieve and accomplish and so on over the many years, they were not doing that. They were not documenting these things. So besides doing an interview, right? Besides doing an interview with a minister of government, because after that interview, few people would listen to a 1 hour interview with a minister. Few people would do that. You hear me? Especially with our population very youthful, that ain't happening. You need to have short pieces done, documenting quickly those things. 5 minutes. 5 minutes looking at the major ticket items. Let's talk about them in 5 minutes. That's a long time. And then in 2 minutes, let's talk about South St. George. Right? Let's talk about South St. George, the things that were achieved there. And you don't need a minister to tell you. No, you get a professional person to document it. Let's talk about St. David, the things that were achieved there. Let's talk about Carriacou. Let's talk about St. George Northeast. Let's talk about the tongue of St. George. Let's talk about St. George Northwest, St. John, St. Mark, St. Patrick, East and West. Let's talk about the 4 constituencies in St. Andrew. Let's talk about St. George Southeast. Let's document those things. In 2 minutes, it can be done. In 3 minutes, you go on site because of some of the physical things, and you document it. You may have footage there already of some of those projects and so on. You highlight that and you produce something. We're coming up to 2 years, and you provide that to Kim Jones. You provide that to Kim the King, Speak Out Unfiltered. You provide that to GIS. You run it. You provide that to people on social media so that they can post it. Because once the evidence is there, the NNP could say what they want. Once you have the evidence, you can put it forward. Let's talk about the $10,000 that you're given to MPs as constituency allowance to do work within the constituency. How many of them actually used that money up? How much have they used from January to June? Let's talk about it, right? How many of them used that money up? What kind of projects they did? That will be wonderful to provide that information. You gave every MP $5,000 as a salary. Let's talk about that. What they used to get before compared to what they're getting now, and why they need to be in their constituency doing work for their constituents. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how many police stations have been refurbished, right, or reconditioned. Let's talk about those things. There are a lot of things that we can document, that we can talk about, that we can highlight. You can't wait until close to the election to do things, and no. Nah, no way, sir. It has to be more than that. It must be more than that. So, look, at the end of the day, we have ideas and we can always talk about them and throw it out there and hoping that the right people will hear it so that they will do what they're supposed to do. Because we all want NDC to be in power for the next 20 years or so. Straight flight. We want that to happen, but we have to work towards it. All right? We have to work towards it. That's very important. In sports, let's talk about that too, yeah? In sports, let's talk about that. Come on, let's document it. The achievements there. Let's talk about that. The Tantine playing field there. That they put up all the lights there. It's lit. Nice work. The Montrouge playing field. I don't know if they put the lightings there as yet, but I know they go in there. Maybe they put, I don't know. I didn't look. Right? And other playing fields, Limes. In Limes, they did some work there. Vendom, they're doing some work. In St. Andrew, they're doing some work in certain areas there. You know, come on. Let's document those stuff. The traffic lights, we put them up. After a while, people are going to forget that we did that. Right? But if you document it, then you can refresh the memory. Some of the most beautiful programs I have done is refreshing the memory of our people and putting the information out there on the table, putting the facts on the table. I can tell you, I normally feel real good after doing those programs. So if they don't know, the people, because you know there are folks in different areas now, they seem as though they have arrived and they have all the ideas in the world and they don't want to engage people who know, right? A lot of people out there who get liquor positions and they believe that they have the monopoly on ideas and everything else. They could do the work, they're good, they could do everything. But when it comes to politics, it's a different ball game. You need to engage certain people who know. You hear me? And don't believe that because I am on this program, that I am not a citizen of this country and able to contribute meaningfully in other areas, you know. Don't fool yourself. There are some people in this country who say, well, if I see Kem Jones' name pop up on some form or on some kind of thing to maybe get a contract or maybe to get some program or to volunteer here, to do something or to go here or to go there, well, then it's a problem. Well, I'm a damn citizen of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. You hear me? I'm a citizen of the state of Grenada. And I have a lot to contribute, politically and otherwise. You hear me? But because, you know, NDC historically has always had a serious problem when it comes to their people, their key people, making sure that they're involved in a number of things in the country. NDC of the past, they've always had that problem. Like they are afraid to engage their people and put their people in key positions to execute certain things. They've always had that problem. So, for example, maybe a training opportunity would come up, something would pop up, and they would be fearful of engaging their people to say, boy, nah, boy, Kem Jones in talk radio, Kem Jones in this, Kem Jones in that. I think Kem Jones might be the ideal person to be on board. So, for example, I always applaud Lennox Andrews and our beloved Prime Minister, right? The most honorable Deacon Mitchell, because the opportunity came up to have two PR persons accompany Lennox Andrews as tourism minister in Boston. When they were going to Boston, you know, that flight, that new flight from Boston to Grenada JetBlue, you know, come on. And our beloved Prime Minister said, no, Kem Jones is an ideal candidate because they had mentioned Linda Straker and Callistra as the two names that they actually mentioned. I'm talking about people at that level. At that level, mentioning people who, you understand the point? And then the Prime Minister said, no. He said, Kem Jones is an ideal candidate, consider Kem Jones. You hear me? And then, you know, they agreed. So Kem Jones, I got to go there. And then Daisy Hazard, she's a PR person with that ministry. She then accompanied the team too. You see? So sometimes they have the tendency to think about people who are not on their side totally, people who are against them more so, to see if they can appease them and make them happy. The NDC has a problem where that is concerned, where they tend to look at the enemy more than their friends. That tend to happen. In 2008, 2013, that is exactly what happened. So an opportunity might avail itself, and they would not first think about, let's say, Kem, or maybe you or you or you. That's not on the radar. They believe, well, Kem Jones on radio, and Kem Jones good on radio, and he okay on radio, and that's it. And that is why I applaud my good friend Ron Redhead. He purchased some tickets for my 10th anniversary, and the Honorable Dennis Cornwall. So in all the ministers and all the MPs on the government side, so far, 2 MPs, 2 ministers, well, Ron Redhead is not an MP. He is, he's not a minister. He's an MP, a member of parliament on the government side for St. George Northeast. So he purchased some tickets. And the Honorable Dennis Cornwall, he purchased some tickets too. All right? And he's the Minister of Finance, and he's the MP for St. Patrick East. So these 2 MPs, they purchased tickets. And I applaud them for that. But we have the other MPs. You know, I am celebrating 10 years in this business. 10 years defending government, promoting government, defending the party, and promoting the party. And the real beneficiaries of this would be the MPs, right? And the NDC totally, and the government totally. But it's important that I mention that here, right? So far to date. And again, it's next Friday. Next Friday. Friday, the 31st of May. And I promise you, if any of the MPs purchase tickets, I will let you know. If they don't, you will know. I promise you that. Because I think my contribution over the many years, it is enough for all of them to purchase a number of tickets as a form of appreciation. They could purchase 1, 2, 3, 4 as a form of appreciation. That's key. You hear me? So as I told you, and I'm that kind of person, I give you my word and I stick to it. And I maintain that. So again, just saying, my event, it's on Friday next week, not this Friday, next Friday, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Trade Center, where I will celebrate 10 years in radio and talk show. And we continue from there to move to the next level. All right? So again, saying to you, it's from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. You know, we will have a nice session down there. We go dance up, we go free up, we go have a nice time. Could be a nice vibes, a really nice vibes. Starting from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. So you have local foods on sale. So you could come, you'll get something to eat. You're going to buy something to eat because it's not free. We're not giving any free food and free drinks. You come, you have to buy your drinks and buy your food. $50 ticket, that's access to get to the event. All right, it's $50 to get to the event. So it's 50 EC for a ticket. All right, and the drinks on sale. Simple. All right. We have some music. We're gonna have a nice vibes, a nice ceremony, you know, of course, to say a few words and to acknowledge the journey. I will have a guest speaker. Well, a guest speaker on, how you call that? Well, a person who will be the guest of honor. Guest of honor, that's it. Guest of honor, and that person will speak briefly for a couple of minutes. A key person in the journey, a person who played a key role in the journey over the 10 years. So I will have that. All right? I will have that. So again, saying, it will be a nice vibes. It's not no event where you come and sit down and no, it's an event you come and shake a leg, you could dance, you could drink, you could chit chat, you could have a nice time, and you don't need any formal way. You don't need no nice dress and short and pants and blazers. No. Simple event. nice little shirt, a nice little pants, a nice little dress, nice little simple vibes. Simple vibes. Right? Come and you have a nice time. Celebrate with me 10 years of hard work. Don't believe this thing is easy. I just come on a mic and I yap. No. Nope. It is way more than that. You hear me? Way more than that. It takes a lot to come here and do this. Every morning, every night. Volunteering my time and effort to do this. You hear me? And folks, don't believe that in the last 2 years that I got some contract or I got some bly with government. Right? I worked in housing authority for some years. I worked in NADMA for some years. I initiate stuff. I do stuff. But don't believe I got one call to say, Kem Jones, boy, look at the opportunity here. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. Not one. Not one. I have not gotten a penny from government. I have not gotten a sweetie or a cleaning walk from the government. You hear me? Not a cleaning walk, nothing. Zero. I've been here on this program for the last, since NDC came into power, so that's almost 2 years. I haven't gotten a thing. Not a piece of board. Not a nail. Not a piece of galvanized. Not a bottle of water. Nothing whatsoever. You hear me? Nothing. I told you, I always applaud my good friend, Lennox Andrews, the Honorable Lennox Andrews, and the most honorable Deacon Mitchell, because I got that opportunity to accompany the team, really, right? Not to say they give me any spending money, any package thing, accompany the team. That's great. Wonderful. I love that. Got the opportunity to explore. Nice. But I'm saying, do not believe over the last 10 years that I got anything to. No. I have been volunteering my time and effort to do this. And there are a lot of people I know who, when NDC came into power, they got contracts, security contracts. They got contracts, cleaning contracts, construction here, construction there. They got contract to supply schools and to supply this, a whole pile of things. Who got big work there and big work there and big work there, high this and high. Whole pile of them benefited. Right? And, they happy. But we are out here still fighting the battle to keep NDC in power, to make sure that NDC remains in power for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You hear me? Yeah. Don't get confused with that. We are still out here fighting that battle. And mind you, they are the direct beneficiaries. Because as long as NDC remains in power, they go benefit. They go continue to get this and get that, a whole pile of them. But not one day. You have some of them who will say, nah, boy, let me put something in an envelope and let me give the party NDC, or let me give Kem, or let me give somebody who fight in the fight. You hear me? Nah, they just get in and they get in and they take in and they take in and they take in and they take in. That's how they function, a lot of them. But when you sit down and you really look at it, you say, nah, boy. You understand the point? Yeah, don't play with that. I'm a guy. I'm a real guy, I am outside here. I ain't no stupid either. I understand what's going on. Because a lot of these folks, they say, yeah, man, Kem just do the work. Let's stay outside and let's talk every morning, every night. Let's do the work. And then we get victory. We in government. Man, we win again. And they back in big work and big this and big that. Contract here and contract then. And they're nice. They're good. Smooth sailing. They're going to all the VIP thing and all the this and all the nice thing. A lot of them. That's how it's done. Yeah. Under NNP, it will be the same thing. Just that under NNP, what they did when NNP came into power, they give him Sheldon, what's his name? They give him he was junior minister in the Ministry of Youth. He was what they call him, I think parliamentary secretary, junior minister in that Ministry of Youth. He got this, he got that, all the different. NNP will do that thing openly. They'll give their people what they have to give them openly. Because people are going to just talk for 3 days, 4 days, openly. They're going to give their people the opportunity. So I'm saying at the end of the day, we have to understand what is at stake here. It's key. All right? Nice. So, folks, I want to say to you, over time, I think the NDC will get it. They will get it. They will get to understand that you got to identify your people and take care of your people within the constituencies. Throughout, nationally, there are some key people who make things happen for you, who turn things around, who, that's very, very important. You got to take care of them. You got to see what you can do to help them and benefit, make their life better. Make their life better, because that is what you want. I love to see people who work hard and who day in the vineyard and so on, and they get opportunities and their life is better. I want to see that. But folks, have a wonderful day. I'll be back tonight again on the journey from 8 in the p.m. to 9. That's what it is. Every morning, every night. Every morning, every night, it's not easy, but you got to keep doing it, all right? Because you understand what is at stake. That is so, so, so important. Very, very, very important. So I want to wish you all the best. And I have the tickets. If you want to get some tickets, you can WhatsApp me. Everybody kind of know my number by now. 1473. That's our code. 1473. That's Grenada's code. Or 473. That's the code. And then my number, 415-4817. 415-4817. The same number that's scrolling on the live program and those on the radio. And thank you, Kim the King, a good partner, for giving me almost an extra hour on the radio. Kim, I thank you. And always, you're just the best. You're my pal. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my brother. There, right? So we got a little extra 1 hour this morning. So I want to wish you all the best, folks. And if you want to get some tickets, and even if you cannot come to the event, buy some tickets as a form of appreciation. All right? Buy some couple tickets, because I still have the majority of tickets here. All right? I still have, look at them. I have nearly all the tickets here. Look, I have nearly all the tickets here. Nearly all of them. I have them here. All right? Nearly all the tickets. I still have here. Some tickets, people sponsor and so on, which is good. But I have nearly all the tickets here still. So I want to urge you, it's just 50 EC. 50 EC for one. So you can come and be a part of this. If you can't make it, you just buy a couple tickets as a form of appreciation. All right? Yeah. If you can't afford, just don't buy. That's what it is. All right? Nice. So I want to wish you all the best. 415-4817. That's my WhatsApp number. 415-4817. You can call me up and take it from there if you want to. If you can't afford, so be it. So I want to wish you all the best. I'll be back tonight from 8 in the PM to 9, and then tomorrow again. Tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, Friday morning, right? Sunday from 1 to 2. And you continue. It's just a journey, and it's not easy, but we got to keep it going. All right? But sometimes it's so important to give a little fuel to the machine, or else it's going to break down. Take good care.